co-founder of the SCOTUS blog and reporter covering the Supreme Court. Amy, it's good to have you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
If this does become the law of the land, legally, what are the next steps for the court, I suppose, but mainly for the states?
For the states, there are several states, at least 13 states, that have what's known as trigger laws, which mean that as soon as Roe and Casey are overruled, their own bans on abortion would go into effect. And so one of the articles, one of the studies I've seen recently predicts that abortion would be illegal in as many as 26 states, I think. There'd be another 20 or so where it would be legal, and then there'd be several states where they're not quite sure yet what would happen. But what Justice Alito's opinion says is the issue would go back to the states, and it appears as if abortion would become illegal in all likelihood, a majority of them.
Roe v. Wade, there's no mention of in the Constitution of abortion, but this is all centered on privacy for throughout its existence. Now the question is, because privacy is no longer enough on abortion, is privacy no longer enough on other matters, for instance, same-sex marriages?
That's a big question that will follow if the draft opinion stands and the court overrules Roe and Casey, because Roe and Casey are founded on this right to privacy. Justice Alito, in his opinion, said no, abortion is different. This came up at the oral argument and in the briefing back in December, and the Mississippi Solicitor General, who argued the case defending Mississippi's ban, said, no, those cases are different because those involve the purposeful termination of human life. But that is a major question that has yet to be resolved.
Of course, the purposeful determination of human life was not what was the matter at hand. It was privacy. It was under privacy that women were allowed to make decisions about what happens to their own bodies. That's what happened under Roe v. Wade.
That's right. And there was a friend of the court brief filed supporting Mississippi that said exactly that if Roe and Casey are overruled, the right to privacy that is at the heart of those cases is also underlying other cases involving the right to same-sex marriage, the right to contraception, that those cases could also be on the table.
This document that Politico published last night, what does the content of this document, this majority opinion, leaked majority opinion, not necessarily final majority opinion, what does the content of it say about the power balance in the Supreme Court?
It says that what we've thought for since Justice Amy Coney Barrett replaced Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg back in 2020 is that there are 5 solidly conservative votes to overrule Roe and Casey. The question was what would happen with Chief Justice John Roberts, who at the oral argument suggested that he might be willing to uphold Mississippi's ban, but not formally overrule Roe and Casey. And the question was, could he get perhaps Justice Barrett or Justice Gorsuch to come along with him? After the oral argument, Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, and Justice Kavanaugh seemed ready to go ahead and overrule Roe and Casey, and that's certainly what Politico is reporting.
Amy Howe from SCOTUS Blog, as always, thank you.